My friend, welcome to this weekly appointment on our channel. So today we chat only. It's a quick one. How to choose a country. So if you are an expat, you want to know more about your country. You have for sure a metrics to evaluate a country based on your own expectation. And expectation is always the key because if you expect too much, when you realize it's not as you think, could be a big problem. So what I'm suggesting is how to do research on a country. Uh, Try to not set the expectation just based on that. So it sounds like a silly statement. I do realize that, but what I'm trying to explain is consider more economics than what you can think. So in my experience, you get momentum in the countries. I do recall countries where there was big investment and out of the blue the economy a bit collapsed. And actually, what I notice is the rate, the economic rate, AAA on the bond of the country, and how much they give you back is actually good metrics. So, for example, if a bond of a gov give you almost zero as interest, it's quite possible that they don't need the money at all. So the economy is stable, but also the judgment on the country itself, and so the scoring of a country. You can have a big momentum in terms of job, tax-wise, but that it will not change the score of a country. So economic is a good one. HSBC is having a good expat report. Check that out. You have a lot of website doing statistics, big data kind now give you a lot about the cost of life, and so it's zero problem to find something, even comparing countries for the cost of a milk or whatever. The McDonald McBurger Index works as well, give you a good idea of how a menu across all the countries is changing. Uh, and I do suggest to look into more specific topic, like for example, how does it work tax-wise? You find countries where you need to pay also the on the saving the tax, even if got already taxed. You can find countries where is extremely dear the currency exchange, and so you need also to consider where you want later on to move your saving and how does fluctuate as well. Plus, you do have other considerations that are more related to uh, the capability for you to survive there if something goes wrong. So something that I underestimated in my experience was, for example, the capability to be a freelance. Can happen that you can have a temporary problem to find the job, or you decide to go freelance. And so you have this ecosystem where it's really easy. And for example, in UK, it's really easy to open a limited company. But if you go in other countries like Germany, Netherlands, you could find that there are certain rules. For example, the number of customer that you have, the number of employee that you'll hire. So look at that as well, because it can be a good way to understand your survival skills. For example, if by mistake you need to go for freelancing, and another things could be check valve system uh, based on your own requirement. But don't expect that you can always go private, and that surprised me. In most of the country, you can go private wherever you want, but there are certain that you can't. You always need to go through insurance, GP, or whatever. And so consider that as well. It's if you jump, you change country before, consider also that kind of things. And another is a cost of insurance. There are certain countries that don't demand you to have private insurance in terms of third-party responsibility or whatever, liability insurance, sorry. But it's better to have it. And so all those are hidden costs. You can find taxes that include other taxes like Russian doll inside, and so it can become quite dear. And warming up the house depends on the weather, depends on the windows, on how isolated is your house, but depends also on how expensive is energy. And sometimes you don't expect to have a so big energy cost difference across two countries that are actually so close. The cost is different between Italy, France. Wherever you go, you'll find out a big difference. So don't forget also when you consider what is your baseline living abroad, what is your minimum requirement in terms of salary? Because, for example, I just try to keep low the expenses to be always sure that I maximize the saving, but I can anyway survive also if there is any problem. Uh, Double check what is the cost. Unfortunately, when you get you need almost 1 year to understand what the country is really costing you in terms of utilities, in terms of maintenance. Car insurance can be extremely dear in north of Europe, and you can find a big difference in that as well. So double check all this stuff, and obviously, if you are a family, you have other requirement than a single, and so education, whatever. But I just share my experience on some topics that were not so well known. At least I didn't know that. I always consider easy the private access to health. I always never consider too much bond and all other kind of stuff. Not for investment itself, for understanding the economy. And if it's a different speaking language, country, you can find that sometimes you don't have the information as well. And okay, everybody can use Google, a browser with a translation, but it's also important for you to understand the mechanism. How does it work? How is the process, taxes wise? For example, you need a tax return even if you work as an employee or not, that kind of stuff. I hope I give you a different point of view on how to pick and choose a country as well. And I know that taxes is quite common things to think about. There is a lot of people emigrating, doing expat in a tax-free country for that reason. But uh, 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 even within Europe, it can change a lot. Okay, take care. Thanks a lot for listening. Cheers. Bye bye.